بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Kitab al-Khawf from al-Mahajjat al-Bayda, the section on fear. As you remember, we said that when there is fear, then it will lead to refraining from bad things, bad actions, anything that can push you towards what you are worried about, what is, makruh, what is disliked. Then there is a discussion. He says, if your fear is strong enough to make you avoid bad things, bad practices, this is called wara. Wara, which means positive fear, a kind of taqwa, that you save yourself from bad things, is when you have a strong enough of fear that helps you to avoid what is bad. For a patient, for example, someone who is ill, wara means to avoid the food which is harmful for his or her health. Yeah. For a student who has exam, wara means not to play, not to go and just enjoy yourself and forget exam. For a mu'min, wara is to avoid sins or failing performing wajibat. But if this increases and helps you to even avoid the things which might be harmful, a person who is very careful about his diet because he's ill, sometimes avoid the things that likely, they may likely, lead to the problem. There is a kind of doubt, but still this person doesn't want to take risk. Yeah. Sometimes we don't go to a place when we know it's dangerous. Sometimes we don't go to a place even if we are not sure, but there is a risk, there is a chance. Ghazali says this is called taqwa. In some places you will find that wara is stronger than taqwa, different to what Ghazali introduces here. In many of our books, you find that they say actually wara is to avoid what is not known and it is just dubious. But he defines it in this way, so maybe there can be different usage. Can you hear me?
Yes, they can't hear.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So the way he introduces wara is that wara is to have a level of fear that helps you avoid what is harmful. Taqwa is to have even a stronger level of fear that helps you to avoid what is likely to be harmful, what is likely to be bad. Sometimes you don't want even to, for example, eat something which might be haram. For example, a person is offering this food that is careless about tahara and najasa. Maybe even from fiqh perspective, sometimes you have permission, for example, if it's not known, if the Muslim is offering you meat or food from meat, As long as there is a chance that maybe this person has, considered halal requirements, you can eat. But if you are in a strong level of, you know, protecting yourself, you may not eat this because you want to not, you don't want to take any risk. And then above this, what he calls sidq taqwa. Sidq, when your iman is very strong and you are very committed to the truth, is that you avoid even things that they are okay, but they are not helpful. Like, things which are permissible, but you think they are not helping you in your journey, they are not making you better. So there are different levels of, prevention, or you can say safeguarding. The basic is to avoid whatever you are sure it is harmful. The higher level is to avoid what you are sure or what you think might be harmful. The third is you don't take any risk and only do those things that are useful. So this is the remaining from last section. And as we said before, we said there is khawf and there is something that leads to khawf, which is that understanding that you have of, for example, in our case, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and yourself, your actions. And there are also things that are following khawf, which is like protection, like avoiding bad things. Now, let's move to the next part. بيان درجات الخوف واختلافه في القوة والضعف. Now, we want to expand on another aspect, the degrees of khawf and the difference between different types of khawf based on weakness or strength of khawf.
Sheikh, sorry, which page are you on now?
Page 271. So this is middle of the page now. The heading is in the middle of the page. So the author says, khawf that we are discussing about is a good quality, is a praise, is mahmud, is a praised quality. Okay? But you shouldn't think because it's a good quality, the more you have, the better. Say, okay, I want to have, maximum level of khawf. No. It has to strike a balance. Yeah, many things are good, but if you lose the balance, they can turn into a problem. Yeah, for example, if you are brave, this is very good. But if you reach the point that you don't consider dangers, risks, you say, I'm very brave, I don't consider any risk, then this is very dangerous. This is excess. Yeah, this is ifrat. It's not good. Or if you are very generous, in the sense that then you become bankrupt. This is not good. Okay? You have to have balance. Not too little, not too much. Okay? So, sometimes people think that because khawf is a good quality, a good condition, so we should reach maximum levels of khawf. But he says, no, this is not correct. He says, huwa qalatun. This is wrong. Why? He says, khawf is like a kind of force that you use to move. For example, sometimes if you are dealing with, for example, animals, maybe a donkey, you are carrying something with a donkey, or you are riding a horse, maybe you use a little force, for example, use a stick, for example, to beat them a little so that they move. But if you do this too much, you hurt the animal. Yeah, you cannot hurt the animal or make the animal suffer. Or for example, sometimes a small children, maybe you need to sometimes discipline them, but you shouldn't do it more than balance. Otherwise, it can be even haram. And sometimes you have to give even dia compensation. If you make, for example, the skin bruise or red or etc. So there is a balance. If you do things more than what is recommended, it's a problem. So when it comes to our relation between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fear in principle is very good. But if it becomes too much, then it leads to despair. Yes. Yeah? Then it can even make you sometimes unable to function. It can even make you ill. Sometimes you can die if you have too much fear. Of course, it's very hard that people, die from fear from Allah. So we haven't heard that much about this, but we have heard people who become, despaired. If you have too little, you don't, bother about it. So the average or the balanced position up to certain degree is good to increase. For example, what we have in godly ulama, those that God says, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَا. Ghazali says, I'm not talking about every alim, I'm talking about godly scholars. Because sometimes maybe there are scholars who have not great fear of Allah. They, rationalize and justify, different things. But godly scholars, they have fear from Allah. Or, imams, Ahlul Bayt, prophets, they had strong fear from Allah, but not too much. They had also ability to function. They were not despaired. They were very hopeful. Always remember this. Whenever your condition motivates you to act more and better, this is a good condition. Whenever your condition makes you either hopeless or make you too proud of yourself, that you say, I don't need to do anything better, this is a problem. Okay? This is for all conditions. For example, if Allah has given you blessings and then this makes you grateful and you want to do more, this is good. But if you say, I don't want to achieve anything else, I am so blessed by Allah, Allah has given me anything, that is enough for me. This is not shukr. You say, I am very appreciative and I want to do more to show my gratitude. Or hope. If you have hope and too much, hope that you don't want to do anything, say, I am guaranteed I am going to, be okay. This is a problem. Fear is also the same. Any advice that someone gives you, I don't know, any condition that you have, any feeling that makes you unable to function or, takes away motive for acting, motive for being positive, for being useful, for being productive, and just makes you, hopeless or lazy or careless, and say, okay, just sit somewhere and, do nothing. Either because you are in such a bad situation that you cannot help, or you're in such a good condition that you don't need to do anything. Both are wrong. Whenever you feel grateful to Allah, you have hope, but at the same time you feel responsible, this is a healthy condition. Yeah, to be hopeful, grateful, see positive things, but you have also some fear, some worries, so you try to be more careful. This is healthy. Yeah, like a driver who has experience, who has license, who has checked the car, knows the direction, but is also very careful. knows that any moment that he is not careful, he can have accident. He talks about then a kind of question that may come to someone's mind, that what if someone dies out of fear? Why is it bad? For example, some people say if someone dies out of fear, he's shaheed, he's a martyr. For example, suppose I have so much fear of akhirah that I die. So what is wrong with that? He says this is said to be like a martyrdom compared to someone who is, spending his or her life in things which are not helpful, which are not taking him nearer to Allah. Otherwise, it's better to live, to continue your life and do good things. You shouldn't ask for, quick martyrdom. You shouldn't, say, it's better if I die now. There is such a blessing in continuing your life with Iman that you should never ask Allah to take away your life quickly. Yes, maybe there are some circumstances that life becomes too difficult for you to bear, or maybe in some exceptional things, you say, oh Allah, now take me away, take me back to you. Otherwise, a moment should be pleased with Allah's decision. You want to take my life, it's up to you. You want to give me tawfiq to continue, it's up to you. But if possible, grant me more life. At the same time that I am pleased with your decision, but please grant me long life at your service. As we say in Dua Abu Hamza, Ilahi ammirni ma kana umri bidlatan fi ta'atik. Imam Sajjad says, as long as my life is spent for your obedience, please give me long life. فَإِذَا كَانَ مَرْتَعًا لِلشَّيْطَانِ فَاقْبِضْنِي قبل أن يسبق مقتك إلي أو يستحكم غضبك علي. But if Shaitan is going to use my life, Shaitan is going to feed himself by using my life like an animal that use the grass. If my life becomes a place for Shaitan to feed himself, then before your anger is fixed on me, take me away. Means if I commit one mistake, two mistakes, okay, please forgive me. But if you see your anger is going to be fixed on me, it's better to die before that. Okay? So we don't want to continue our life with any price, any cost. No. We want to have continued life at the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to improve. But in the end, we leave it to him to decide, whatever is better for us. But never volunteer for, quick death. Yeah? Because you need every moment of life to do something more and to save more, because we have great need. So, he says, فَعْلَمْ, I read this part because it's important. أَنَّ مَعْنَى كَوْنِهِ شَهِيدًا أن له رتبة بسبب موته من الخوف كان لا ينالها لو مات في ذلك الوقت لا بسبب الخوف. When it is said that whoever dies out of fear is a martyr, it means that he has a position that if at that time he had not died out of khawf, he didn't have that position. So basically, this means that if he was going to die anyway, it's better to die out of khawf, or just out of accident, or out of I don't know, for example, illness, whatever. Okay? Don't compare it with someone who can live longer and do lots of services and good things. Okay? Compared to the person who dies in the same condition, but not out of fear, just for a natural or, for an accident. You understand? اما بالاضافة الى تقدیر بقائه و طول عمره فی طاعت الله و سلوک سبیله فلیس بفضیله. But if you compare it with the same person continuing life and then obeying Allah more, serving more, we cannot say it was better that he died out of fear. It was better if he didn't have too much fear so that he could continue his life and serve more. Okay? بل سالك سبيل الله بطريق الفكر والمشاهدة والترقي في درجات المعارف في كل لحظة رتبة الشهيد. If there is a wayfarer towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is doing tafakkur, reflection, meditation, observing signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rising the degrees of ma'rifah, this person in every moment of his or her life is like a martyr. Okay? It's better than someone that at one moment had too much fear and died. Even with the people who give their life, for example, in a I don't know, battle or whatever, that's amazing, if you are able to give your life. But we shouldn't think that they are necessarily better than people who, for example, are happy to offer their life, but they remain safe and they continue their services. Yeah? Because the main thing is that readiness to offer. But you shouldn't think that whoever dies in the battle is better than whoever remains. It depends. Sometimes maybe a person who remains has ability to gain more reward, higher reward than the person who just died. Never we can understand exactly this thing because we don't have all the measures in our hand. Yeah? Maybe sometimes even I think, families of the martyrs, sometimes maybe they have greater reward than some of the martyrs. We cannot generalize, but sometimes because the martyr gives life, mashallah, but the family sometimes for tens of years they have to be patient. So who knows? Maybe the wife or orphans behind have higher rank. Allah knows. But one of the factors is this, that if someone has readiness to die, to offer his life, but Allah gives him longer life and he continues serving, this is a blessing. Okay? We shouldn't think, it was better if, I died before. Then he continues and he says, أفضل السعادات, the best of the blessings that you have and fortune that you can have is طول العمر في طاعة الله, is to have a long life but in obedience. If you can have a long life in obedience. In some lectures I have explained that when a mu'min or a mu'minah just spends life in obedience, it's growth. So if someone is, for example, living 20 years in Iman and someone lives 25 years in Iman, everything being equal, I cannot generalize, but everything being equal, if every quality, every ma'rifah, everything is the same, but the longer you have served, the longer you had Iman, you have practiced, you have obeyed, is better. This is why we should be very respectful to old people who spend their life in obedience, because these are the people that are much ahead of us. We don't know whether we reach that point, whether we can keep our iman or not that long. Yeah, we should look at them as you know, senior members, you know, of the club. You know, like for example, people who are in the field, and someone is a new, for example, doctor. Someone has been 30 years doctor, has lots of experience, you know, lots of services. So one of the best things is tulul umr fi ta'atillah. So if your khawf is too much that makes you die, then he says that's a problem. And then he repeats again that the best thing is that if fear makes you more eager to act, more eager to obey, more eager to serve. Then the next heading is on page 273. بيان أقسام الخوف بالإضافة إلى ما يخاف منه. Now we want to explain different types of fear according to what you fear from, because you can divide fear in different ways. One way is to say, what is the source of fear? What are you afraid from? Because even mu'mineen, if you go further and, you know, probe into their heart and mind, you see they don't have exactly the same reason for fear. Someone, for example, has fear of punishment. Someone has fear of losing, you know, kind attention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are different, you know, things that people have fear from. So he says, what people think that it's possible to happen, you know, because if you remember, we said fear is with respect to makruh and mutawaqqa, something that you expect which might happen and is disliked. Yeah, okay? So what is that thing can be different. Some people are worried that maybe I die before I manage to have proper tawbah. Yeah, this is serious fear, you know. What happens if I don't manage to make tawbah before I die? Therefore, we should, you know, hurry up in doing tawbah as soon as we can. Sometimes people say, I am worried that I may break my tawbah. So someone has done tawbah, but says, what worries me is that what happens if I break my tawbah, if I break my promises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, this is for a person that is advanced, has already done tawbah, has already done you know, what was needed to restore, for example, salatul qadha or fasting, or I don't know if it was rights of people, has done that, but is worried. What if I again go back? Someone is worried that what if I don't observe all the rights of Allah? Allah has lots of rights upon me, not just, for example, doing wajibat and avoiding haram. What if I am not a good and grateful servant? This is one type of also reason for fear. Some people have fear that what happens if my heart becomes hard, if I develop qasavatul qalb, because this is a tragedy. If you don't have tenderness and softness of the heart, if heart becomes hard, then cannot remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like a hard, you know, soil that cannot grow anything. Someone is worried that I may lose istiqamah, I may deviate, I may not remain on the right path. So many, sometimes problems, objections, attacks, criticisms that we may be exposed to, and we may not be able to protect our iman. We may lose right path. Someone may have fear that what should I do if I develop bad habits? As for example, I become addicted. But addiction is not just to, you know, tobacco or drink or drugs. If I become addicted to other bad things, if I become too addicted to watching bad movies, for example, or listening to haram, watching bad films, or listening to bad music, or addicted to eating too much, or I don't know, addicted to spending too much time with my friends, and wasting my time and ignoring my family. There can be lots of bad habits. So this is a worry also. Of course, you may have all these fears, if you are careful about your spiritual health. What if I be left by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to my hasanat? It's interesting. Let me read it in Arabic. خوف أن يكله الله إلى حسناته التي اتكل عليها وتعزز بها في عباد الله. This is for the people who are very careful. Sometimes you have done good things, but there is a risk here. If you think that because of these good things you are better than other people, تعزز بها في عباد الله means you too much honor yourself and you think you are better than other people. So the things that you did were good things, but now they are becoming, poison, that you think you are special. You have, so much good things. Or you have fear that so many blessings Allah has given you that then you may become ungrateful and just start indulging yourself with blessings of Allah. This is also a fear. Allah has given us so many blessings, but instead of being humble and thankful and use them in a responsible way, we take them for granted, and without having any level of saying I am content, we just want to consume and use, and this is also another problem. Or another fear, very beautiful, خوف الاشتغال عن الله بغير الله. Something other than Allah makes me too busy so that I am forgetting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Preoccupies me so much that I am too busy to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This even sometimes can be other things which are good, in themselves. Sometimes, for example, your study, your work, your family, these are good things in themselves, yeah? But if they replace Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a problem. Or make you forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a problem. أو خوف الاستدراج بتواتر النعم. Another problem is similar to what we said about blessings. You take them for granted and use them in excess. But this is istidraj. You are familiar with the concept of istidraj. Istidraj is that sometimes people, because they are not grateful to the blessings, then they may be left to themselves. Even Allah may give them more. Okay? And this will take them, down. Sometimes some people who are very bad, you see, they have less problems. Whatever they want in dunya, they achieve. This is not that because Allah loves them. This is because they are left to them. Like a student, if a student says, I'm enjoying my, school because no one asks me when you come, when you go, no one asks me for homework, no one takes me exam. So this means that this student is left to himself. Yeah, they don't bother about him. They consider that he doesn't exist. This is also a problem. Sometimes someone is worried that maybe rights that people have over me is going to destroy me. For example, if I have committed backbiting, riba, or if I have betrayed people, khiyana, if I have not been honest with people, if I have taken away their rights or I didn't give them proper advice, okay, I developed bad intention in my heart towards people. This is also one kind of source for fear. Or someone has worried what is going to happen to me in rest of my life. Okay, this is another source of fear. Or someone says, what if Allah punishes me in dunya or damages my reputation in dunya? Because Allah generally doesn't punish us in dunya, gives us chance to reflect and change. But there are cases that maybe punishment will be brought in dunya. And one of the punishment can be you to lose your reputation, your honor in dunya. Like some of the oppressors, in dunya, they see not necessarily only those who have power. Even, for example, maybe an ordinary person who has oppressed his family, or for example, neighbors, they can suffer in dunya. So this is also another worry. Or someone has worry about why if I am deceived by attractions of dunya. I see people have, large houses, good cars, salaries, holidays, etc., luxurious, dress, etc. What if I become like them? I remember one of my teachers, that I many times quote from him, Ayatollah Ahmed Mianji Rahmatullah. He was giving us dars akhlaq every week. Normally we had dars akhlaq in the school with him. Once he said, when he was very, younger, he used to go to some houses in Karaj. Karaj is a city about 40 kilometers from Tehran. Now, of course, they are getting connected. He said, I was feeling after I, was coming back to Qom that I'm sad. Why I'm sad? Then he said, I went digging my heart, and then I realized that because I was giving, majales in houses of very rich people. And then deep in my mind, I was, sad that, why I'm living like, talaba, in this house, without thinking, himself consciously, but in his heart, this was going on. Every time I'm going there, seeing their house, and then come back and see my life, I was feeling very sad. So if you are not careful, little by little, you try to become like them. And even you may say, okay, let me just change my lifestyle, my, study or whatever. Many people actually have, for example, I have seen, in Hose also, and outside Hose, when they are young, they choose to leave everything behind. They've come sometimes from rich families. They go for a study. They say, you don't want, money. I don't know. We want just very simple life. But you see, after 10 years, 15 years, again, there is a turn. Again, they go back to what kind of life they had before. So these are not decisions that you make it once and then can relax, because dunya can come in future, but in different ways. For example, maybe they say, quit talabigi, go and find a job, become a university professor, I don't know, whatever. Or sometimes you remain as a talabe, but then you go and get employed as a talabe and do some talabigi. But the main thing is not to serve. The main thing is that you are after salary. It can happen. So we have to be very careful that dunya can attract us, and dunya is not money only. Money is part of it, but there are lots of attractions. So one fear can be خوف الاغترار بزخارف الدنيا, the fear that being deceived by attractions of dunya. Zukhruf is when something is coated by gold. Inside is not gold, but it is coated with gold. It looks very nice. So this is why I say attractions. Or fear can be for you are worried that there are things in me, especially when I am heedless from Allah. And if Allah, takes me and question me because of what is in my heart, what is in my, nafs. If Allah knows that I am, looks at my nafs and finds I am jealous, or I am, thinking about bad things, for example. Or fear of dying in a bad condition, khatimat as-su. Or khawf as-sabiqah. Sometimes I am worried about bad end. Sometimes I am worried maybe something has been already decided for me. Of course, Ghazali is Ash'ari. And because he's Ash'ari, he somehow believes in these kind of things, that, maybe something is already decided for me. We believe that, yes, everything is known to Allah, but not predestined, in the sense that, we have no choice. Yeah? Whatever is decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is based on our voluntary actions and our free choices. So we don't have fear that maybe Allah has, predestined for me, bad ending. But we have fear that maybe we act in the way that would lead to bad ending. Okay, so these are of all different kinds of fears of arifin, those who have ma'rifah. Okay, they have these kinds of khawf, and he says all these fears have benefit. لكل واحد فائدة. Each of them has a specific benefit. If you manage to, have all these kinds of fears in yourself and prepare yourself, then you are protected from anything bad, anything which is disliked. Inshallah, we continue discussion bi'Iznillah next week. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. If you have any question, any comment, please put forward. So we reached middle of page 274. Yes.
You were talking about the different types of fear, and you mentioned the fear that often people have, whether they think is whatever is happening to me, is it a punishment, or is it, like, for example, I had a friend who's going through a divorce.
Yeah.
Lots of bad things are happening to her. And she says to me, I think my mom said this is a punishment to me because I've done something bad or I'm treating him bad, even though he's treating her bad, but she feels she's treating him bad and Allah's punishing her.
Yeah.
But I told her I don't think that's true because Allah doesn't, you know, all of the things you're going through, you can look at it as a punishment or you can also look at it as a test to improve yourself and to develop, to go through something that's going to make you better.
Yeah.
But how do you know? How does she know if it's the punishment or not?
You know, in discussion about suffering, we have discussed this, that whenever you suffer, first you check whether you have caused this suffering to yourself or at least contributed. Sometimes 100% you are responsible, sometimes no, but you have contributed. If you realize that you were responsible, hope you try to, you know, fix the problem. You try to ask for forgiveness. And from that moment on, if you do properly, then still this suffering becomes ibadah. It's amazing. For example, I married a wrong person and I was responsible. Okay, I cannot blame, you know, anyone. But now, if from this moment on, I take this as a place for being patient and listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From now on, I want to listen to Him and deal with this suffering as a way to demonstrate my devotion to God. This becomes sacred now. Because you realize your mistake, you did tawbah, now you want to listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes, no, after careful assessment and objective evaluation, you realize you didn't contribute at all to this, you know, you didn't have any clue. For example, sometimes you become ill, you know, for example, God forbid someone has, you know, cancer, didn't, you know, do anything to have cancer. Or, you know, sometimes you have, you know, accident, someone hits you on the road and, you know, you become, I don't know, injured or whatever. You have no role or contribution. Then this from beginning is a blessing, is an opportunity for you to grow. So first check if you have caused the problem, contributed to problem, fix as much as you can, and from this moment on listen to God and do whatever is pleasing to Him. It becomes sacred. If you don't do this, you are going to suffer and you are not going to benefit. If it's not at all because of your actions, so this is already a blessing. Just don't turn it into a problem by losing your patience and doing wrong things. Okay? Yeah. So we cannot say, because some people, for example, when they saw Prophet Ayub suffering, they said, you must have done something wrong, you know. We don't have this idea. Also, we don't say definitely who is suffering is Ayub, or is a great person. No, this is between them and Allah. Maybe they are suffering because they did something wrong. Maybe they are suffering because they are great people. We don't know. We should judge people with good opinion, okay? But they themselves, you know, should check. Did I cause any, you know, suffering for myself and others or not? We have to take lessons. Because if we don't acknowledge our role, then we cannot benefit from it.
Yeah. Thank you.
May Allah bless you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You mentioned that one of the causes wrong that you have done to others.
Yes.
What about this idea of people hurting us?
People?
People hurting us.
Yes.
So I know there's the idea of hasad, people praying bad prayers towards you. Is there a fear like that for the Arifin, or are they beyond that? Like, they don't care about what people do towards them?
Yeah, they don't have that much fear of that because they are more worried about them wronging people.
Yeah.
If people wrong you, Allah is to protect you. Yeah, and Allah yudafi'u an alladhina. Allah defends the believers, and we are not going to suffer great, deal because of what people do to us. Our great suffering is caused by ourselves. But still, you can, of course, pray, give sadaqah, recite, قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس, etc. for protection. In du'as, we ask for protection. But our greatest worry is coming from our own nafs. أعدى عدوك نفسك التي بين جنبك. Yeah? May Allah bless you.
I was thinking, is it possible that the same type or same fear could be of that good category for maybe very high status believer,
Yeah.
and that same fear for someone at a lower stage, that wouldn't be a good one,
Yeah.
because functionally that causes what you described,
Yeah.
like lead to despair or something.
Yeah.
But it would be sometimes referred to as a virtue because it's for
Yes.
that person at a higher level.
Yes. It's like food, for example, even a good food, you cannot give it to a baby. Yeah, baby has to have milk and water, because cannot digest kebab, for example. So some of the fears of awliyaullah for beginners may not be relevant or may not be suitable. But most of the things that we mentioned here are for everyone. They are not very explicit very exclusive, most of them. But sometimes yes. Especially, for example, the fear that people who have responsibility have. For example, if you are a leader or a person who has influence, you have so much worries and fear, and so much you feel responsible, that maybe a person who has no high position doesn't need to worry that much. Or some of the subtle tests that happen for awliyaullah, it may not happen to us, because we are not at that level. Like, we say hasanatul abrar, sayyatul muqarrabin. Some of the good things that good people do, if people who are very close to Allah do, it's considered as sayya. For example, the best salat that I perform, if it's done by Amirul Mu'mineen, he has to ask for forgiveness. Yeah. So degrees are different. But the things that we mentioned here are normally general.
On that note, the salawat that you read in the beginning,
yes,
there was a mention of forgiveness towards the end. That we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send forgiveness. I hope I didn't read it wrong, but was it like we are asking Allah for forgiveness for the Imam? There was a word about forgiveness. Maybe I read it incorrectly.
Let me check the exact. We ask Allah for forgiveness for ourselves. Atena min ladunka fi muwalati. So because of having velaya of Imam Kazim, give us fadlan wa ihsanan wa maghfiratan. Give us your favor and kindness and forgiveness.
Yeah. So that's a different forgiveness which the Aima themselves ask.
Yeah. No question? Yes. Bismillah.
I wanted to ask, I've heard someone once say that they suspect that they will have a short life or not live a long life, maybe due to suffering, things they've gone through. So not that they want or wish that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends their life, whether they just suspect that they won't live a long life. is that, in my mind, when I heard that, I felt that it was incorrect to think like that, but I just want to get your opinion about it.
I don't know. Are there any signs, for example, that they expect to have short life, or
So no direct serious illness or anything like that.
sometimes, for example, they had dreams that gave them such indication. Sometimes someone told them, but as long as they act properly, it's okay. But if this makes them unable to plan anything, to do anything, because any moment they think I may die, this makes them passive. But if they do things properly, but just say I may die soon, it's not necessarily a problem. The main thing is we should not let anything stop us functioning properly. Any thing that sometimes like a virus that goes to your heart and mind, doesn't let you to function. Like a computer, a virus goes to the system. So sometimes maybe someone shares something, I don't know, sometimes a lecturer says something, then without you knowing, you realize you are not functioning properly. So you have to quickly rectify this, because we are supposed to always be active, productive, useful, beneficial, doing ihsan to yourself, to others. But if you become just useless and hopeless, this we can realize this is not healthy.
What's the best way to get out of it if you find yourself in that position?
So first is to try to see what led to this. Yeah, because the first solution is to identify the cause of the problem. If you cannot find it out, then review all the good things, mercy of Allah, hope, all kind of these things, so that inshallah the virus automatically goes away. One of the beauties of reciting Quran or du'as is that we can always check ourselves, that are we in the tune with this or not. التماس دعاء. Thank you very much.